Secret patterns of breath that don't involve breathing. A sacred transmission on the invisible current that moves without air. Opening transmission. What if the breath you know is only a shadow? What if the rise and fall of your chest, the inhale and exhale, the push and pull of the lungs, is not the real breath at all? Beneath the rhythm of the body, there is a breath that does not move, a still inhalation without wind, a quiet exhalation that doesn't touch the nose. There are patterns of breath that don't involve breathing, whispers of energy that circulate through the body, not through the lungs, but through presence itself. These are not poetic metaphors. They are actual, lived phenomena experienced by those who sit long enough, still enough, to discover the secret tides beneath the air. Let us open that doorway now and step into the breathless breath. 1. The illusion of breath as only air. Most people, when asked to focus on the breath, think of the rise and fall of the chest, the movement of air through the nostrils, the sound, the rhythm, the expansion and contraction, but this is only the outer garment of something more subtle. Breath is not just oxygen entering the lungs. It is the visible trace of a far deeper movement. In the same way that a shadow is not the thing itself, the air you inhale is not the breath itself. It is a physical echo of something energetic, something far more primal, and that deeper movement continues even when the body is still, even when there is no breath at all. In deep meditation, experienced yogis enter a space where the lungs do not move, where the body is utterly still, and yet there is a pulse, a kind of inner tide. It is not breathless as in deprived, but breathless as in complete. What remains is not a void. It is presence, flowing without movement. 2. The 3 layers of breath. To understand the breath that doesn't involve breathing, we must first see the full spectrum of breath. There are 3 layers. Layer 1, physical breath. This is the air-based breath, the in and out through the nostrils. It is managed by the lungs, the diaphragm, and the nervous system. It can be voluntary or involuntary and is essential to physical life. Layer 2, energetic breath. This is not made of air, but of subtle energy. It flows through channels you cannot see, sometimes called currents or winds. It moves attention more than it moves oxygen. It can circulate through the spine, through the belly, through the skull. It is the breath that yogis learn to ride when the outer breath becomes still. Layer 3, awareness breath. This is the most secret breath. It does not flow, it does not move, and yet it is alive. It is the breath of pure awareness, the sense of expansion and contraction that happens even when nothing else does. It is the breath that remains in deep samadhi, where the body is motionless, the lungs quiet, the thoughts dissolved, and yet something is breathing you. This is the breath that does not involve breathing. How to feel the breath without air. You cannot do the breathless breath. You can only stop doing the outer breath long enough for the inner breath to be felt. This requires 2 things: profound stillness and total sensitivity. Here's a simple way to begin. Practice the pause that reveals the inner current. 1. Sit comfortably with the spine relaxed and upright. 2. Let the breath slow down naturally. Do not force retention. 3. As the breath begins to quiet, notice the moment after the exhale. 4. In that stillness, do not immediately inhale. 5. Wait and become aware of the subtle sense of fullness that exists even without air. You may begin to notice a kind of hum, a spread of warmth, or a sense of floating, as if the body is breathing on a different level. Eventually, you may find yourself in a state where the physical breath is so shallow it becomes imperceptible, and yet there is a rhythm still moving inside. This is not dangerous. It is natural, and it is the first veil lifting on the true breath. 4. Subtle patterns, hidden in the stillness. There are patterns to this breathless breath, but they are not counted in seconds. They are not timed like pranayama. They are sensed, felt, absorbed. Here are 3 common patterns that appear in the breath that doesn't breathe. 1. The rising tingle through the spine. Often mistaken for kundalini, this wave-like current begins at the base of the spine and travels upward during stillness. It does not require inhalation. It flows when awareness is anchored deeply enough in the body's base. 2. The expansion from the heart outward, a radiant non-physical swelling that occurs from the center of the chest. It may feel like joy, warmth, or vastness expanding in all directions, and it happens even if the chest is not moving. Number 3. The circular crown pulse, a gentle spiraling awareness felt at the top of the head, not connected to brain function but to subtle attention flowing upward. It may feel like your entire skull is softly being breathed from above. These are not to be chased. They appear only when you are still enough to receive them, and in their arising, a different kind of respiration is revealed, a breathing without breath. 5. Why this matters on the path to awakening. The breath that doesn't breathe is not just a curiosity. It is one of the gates to non-dual awareness. When you no longer identify breath with air, you begin to discover that you are not the breather at all. You are not the one doing the breath. You are the space in which the breath appears and disappears and continues without you. In the Upanishadic view, there is a truth. The prana does not belong to you. It is the self that breathes you. And when you no longer cling to breath as you're doing, you begin to merge with that self. This is why ancient yogis sat in caves, not to control breath, but to dissolve into the breathless one, the unmoving witness of all that moves. The breath that does not involve breathing is the breath of awakening. 6. Common signs you're entering this state. How do you know you're beginning to access this breathless breath? Here are signs to look for. You notice the breath has stopped, but you feel more alive than ever. Your awareness expands beyond the skin, as if the edges of your body have vanished. There is a deep sense of safety without any logical reason. You feel as if something is moving through you, but you are doing nothing. Time disappears, and silence feels rich, thick, and magnetic. These are not trance states, they are states of purity, moments when the false breath drops and the true breath remains. 7. When not to chase this practice. A sacred warning must also be given. Do not chase the breathless breath. Do not make it a goal. If you try to force the breath to stop or imitate the experience with willpower, you will strain the nervous system and confuse stillness with suppression. The breath that doesn't breathe arises naturally when the mind becomes still. It is a gift, not a technique. So practice deep listening, not manipulation, and the silent breath will find you. Mystical reflection. What breathes you when you sleep? What breathes you when your mind vanishes into stillness? What breathes when the body no longer breathes? There is something deeper than air, more faithful than lungs, more ancient than the breath you can control, that presence, that current, that invisible breath. It is not yours. You belong to it. Let yourself dissolve into that current. Let yourself be breathed by what breathes the stars. And in that silent pulse you will remember, you have never truly breathed. You have only been breathed by the one who never moves and yet sustains all motion. If this sacred teaching touched something deeper than breath, stay close. Subscribe to this channel to receive more transmissions on subtle presence, energetic truth, and awakening beyond form. Become a member to support this living stream of insight, and most of all, keep listening for the silence beneath your breath. It is always there. It is waiting for you to notice. In the next offering, we will explore awakening the line of light inside the nose bridge, a forgotten gateway of awareness that links stillness, breath, and third eye perception, a hidden channel where stillness flows like light